Welcome to Bloomberg's Women, Money and Power event in London. I'm Anna Edwards. For the first time ever, Bloomberg is bringing together the most influential female voices in finance from around the world to debate and discuss the biggest themes facing the future of finance and business. On the agenda, the future of investing, asset management and banking, to the role of women as consumers, owners and as CEOs. Women around the world are controlling a greater share of wealth and making more of the key financial decisions.
We are in the midst of the largest wealth transfer in history right at this very moment. So $100 trillion of wealth is going to next-gen and millennial clients over the next decade. So that has some pretty significant implications. But in addition to that, women are controlling more and more global wealth.
I got very comfortable at a very young age being an outsider. But what that has meant throughout my entire career in semiconductors, sector, in venture capital, and in startup world is that I'm always looking at how do we make sure those outside voices are brought into the technology development.
I've been on a journey in women's football as a player, but I really wanted to be part of the future of commercializing the game, reimagining the game, providing equity and power to players.
I've gotten to know Carrie and the executive producer and the screenwriter who came up with the concept of The Diplomat. Her name is Deborah Kahn, but when she first brought that to the studios, they said to her, "Oh, it's a great plot, but there'll never be a female ambassador to the UK."
There you go.
So anyway, I'm the second in 200 years.
One thing that is really remarkable about LA is that the majority of major museums are currently run by women. There's sort of a moment.
That's a big responsibility, but it also gives a lot of opportunities. So our investment horizons is basically infinite.
The global investing industry has undergone dramatic shifts in recent years as the biggest firms are getting bigger. Passive funds are closing the gap with active managers, and the rise of private capital is turning up the heat on the competition. Franklin Templeton President and CEO Jenny Johnson shared her thoughts on the industry's demand for innovation and adaptation.
I think a lot of the growth in alternatives actually comes from kind of the 2008 financial crisis. So one, with banks not changing the capital requirements around banks really want to preserve their capital for their biggest and best clients. And so it created this opportunity for private credit to step in. I think that, honestly, low interest rates were probably one of the things that fueled private equity, but also a bit of the environment where I think less and less companies want to go public, and I don't think that trend changes. I don't think there's a lot of people going, boy, I'd really like to be a public company CEO these days. And I think in a time where you have all these great technological advances like AI, where companies need to invest in the technology that may not pay off for years, it's really hard with the pressure of quarterly earnings. And so in some cases, transforming a company ends up being better in the structure of private equity. So I think like that trend is here. I think, and I'm a big fan of blockchain. I think that's going to open up new investment opportunities and kind of interesting things. I always say that eventually your financial advisor is going to report your portfolio in three ways. They're going to say, here's your investment return, here's the impact you have, and by the way, here are the loyalty programs that you've gotten from your tokenized equity ownership that have now tied loyalty programs to it. So that's where I think things ultimately evolve.
So on blockchain and Bitcoin, does that change significantly under a Trump administration?
Oh, for sure. And again, I always make sure you separate Bitcoin from blockchain. Okay,
fair.
So Bitcoin, different deal. I was a skeptic of it initially, but a couple things people said to me. One, somebody who lived in Israel said, my parents and grandparents had their money taken away by the government. They will always keep a portion of their savings in Bitcoin. And then I had actually an employee who lived in the Middle East and said, if I say the wrong thing, I can have my accounts frozen. So I always keep a percentage of my earnings in Bitcoin. And obviously in the kind of key, because they can keep it protected. So if you grow up in a society where you feel your money's safe, you think that doesn't make any sense. And why should this external currency come in? But if you actually think that there's a lot of the world that would like that safety and control, you can see where Bitcoin has a lot of opportunity. And then blockchain, again, it's a technology. It's a technology that's going to do a lot of really good things in financial services. A lot of toll takers take a piece of a transaction. That can eliminate it, and so it's going to create more efficiencies. It's going to open up investment opportunities.
Jenny, do you think that there'll be a catalyst for companies to want to go public again, or is it just private all the way? Is this, a trend for the next 5-10 years?
So I actually think it used to be you go venture, private equity, IPO, public markets. I think that stays, and we see it where people are just waiting a lot longer to go public. But at some point, people want that liquidity and monetize it, and the private markets aren't yet that liquid. There's some amount. But I actually think what you're starting to see is public companies being taken private because we invested in a company, InvestNet, and they have $3 trillion in assets by financial advisor platform, right? They need to invest in it. It is hard as a public company to make those kind of investments and say to the street, hey, by the way, this is going to impact earnings for the next 18 months. So they become private, right? And so they were taken private by Bain Capital, and then they'll go public, I think, again. So I think there's going to be this new cycle of pulling people off, doing the investment that needs to happen, whether it's AI investments or whatever, and then going public again.
Another area of the finance industry facing disruption, hedge funds. Firms are under more pressure than ever to deliver alpha and justify their fees. So how do the top funds effectively compete for investor dollars? Man Group CEO Robyn shared her strategy with Bloomberg's Caroline Gage.
This is a time when I think the alternative investment management space has everything to play for. It's a time when clients need us more. It's a time when we're coming out of this rather benign environment where you had, as asset holders, everything just held onto it and you'd be fine. We're now in states of volatility and dispersion. And so how do you grow? How do you service your clients? One, you ensure you're relevant to them. You know that they need more from you. The more diversified the content you have, the better for them. The more you're able to find solutions for them and answers for them that actually address the questions and the challenges that they are living through. And you do that by looking at your ability to have that orthogonal or uncorrelated content and capability that delivers returns to them through these different economic cycles that we're now living through. So how do you grow your assets? You listen to your clients. You make sure you're relevant to them, you grow your capabilities to deliver that to them, and it's hard work, but that's what you have to do.
How important is scale, and what are you hearing from them on that front?
There's definitely a consolidation. There's a consolidation both at allocators but also at investment managers. That thing where you say, I need to face fewer managers who can help me do more. So that consolidation is there. So scale matters in the sense of being able to deliver all of that capability to them. And it matters in the way that you build your organization so you are able to deliver what you deliver without reducing the alpha that you've captured. So it's no good finding this very elusive thing called alpha and outperformance, only to lose it through your own inefficiencies. So scale and capability, your operating platform, which might not sound the most exciting thing for us all to talk about, but happens to be incredibly important, is the thing that I think is important in that scale debate or that conversation too. So can you deliver what you have at scale efficiently and return as much alpha to clients as possible without losing it through your own inefficiencies?
How fierce is the competition right now for talent in your business?
Huge, massive. It's always going to be that way. The competition is in every part. If you want the very best people, you have to recognize that you have to provide them with an environment and a space and an offer that makes them feel great about coming into work every day. So the competition is fierce, but actually I feel quite good about man's positioning. So from a discretionary or fundamental investing perspective, do the platforms have an attention of war, of a tug of war, of great capability? Absolutely. But are there things that make it different? Is this just about money at the end of the day? Listen, we work in financial services. There's a value proposition here that everybody lives with. But I would wager that most people in this audience, if not everybody, could go and get another job tomorrow. Maybe they could go and get a slight increase in their comp tomorrow. But most people in this audience will also think about the culture they want to live in, the value set they're alongside, whether they can grow their capability in their business. If you're an investor, whether you have sources of capital that come from more than one place. You'll think about the tech that you have, the operating platform you have, the access to clients you have. You'll think about whether you want a global stage or not. In other words, this talent piece is not a binary thing either. If you're a technologist, you like dealing. My experience, we have about 650 of them, self-identified technologists in some form or other, quants or data scientists or modelers or developers. They love being and having access to the very best technology. They want to be put in a box, and they love solving real-world problems and challenges. That's what we do every day when we come to work. So you're giving the brightest minds the best capability to solve real-world issues that are very, very hard. That's exciting.
Still ahead from the Bloomberg Women, Money and Power event in London.
My ambition is to be a high-returning, high-quality earnings, modern, simpler institution that continues to play a shaping role in the global financial system.
For us, certainly AI is the way in which we are running our business.
The risks associated with that are a lot, because all of a sudden we can lose control. All of a sudden, in the short term, even we can delegate too much and lose a sense of reality.
I really do believe we're in a new era of discovery with AI. But I think about risk a lot. Right? It keeps me up at night, both the opportunity and the risk.
I think that geopolitics is probably going to be the biggest ground shift that occurs in the world of finance. We've seen, and I mean world from the global perspective, we've seen so many shifts in the lanes. I see technology flows changing, where they're going and the nature of them, particularly with AI, data centers, energy flows to support them.
And by the way, the reason I'm much more optimistic about what happens, and hopefully we understand that we need to do something. I do think we're at a crossroads. I think we know what has to be done, and there are opportunities.
Welcome back. I'm Anna Edwards. Geopolitical volatility, regulatory shifts and AI advancements all pose risks and opportunities for the finance industry. Citi CEO Jane Fraser shared how she is looking to the future with our own Sonali Basak.
Given the world is changing so quickly, where is the most promise over the next 5 years? And what regions of the world do you see as lagging?
Well, I always like to talk about bright spots first. So I think the bright spots is America. If you talk about a lot of roads leading here, fantastic entrepreneurship. I mean, this country is incredible. I love how Japan is turning up, focused on returns, moving from savings to investment, entrepreneurs also on the front foot there. So that's exciting. Most of ASEAN as well, really adapting and adopting a lot of new technologies. The Middle East is a different Middle East. As a woman, I find it really exciting to go there and see how quickly it has changed, and the female population is being unleashed in many of these countries in a very positive way. And I wouldn't forget Brazil and Mexico as areas where we're also seeing tremendous innovation. So I think those are, that's a pretty broad group of winners there. Europe has a tougher time. They've got some more structural challenges. Labour market is not as flexible. They don't have the scale that the States has. And they've got some challenges in terms of competitiveness. So that would be a quick walk around the world of the highs.
While the world is changing, so too is the world of finance.
Yes.
In particular, you've seen for many years now the banks cede some share to the non-banks, and you made a lot of news this year when you struck a partnership with Apollo, a $25 billion partnership in order to provide more private credit to your clients. Where do you see the private markets going at the end of the day?
Look, when you look at a transaction and a partnership like the one we have with Apollo, you're looking at a win-win. And as we look at it, we're marrying our strength in origination and some of their power on their balance sheet in areas that we can't compete with them on, and put it together in 1 + 1 = 3 for our clients, because we're still giving our clients choice. And I think that's what we see the private market as. In non-investment grade clients in particular, and companies, it's giving them an additional market to tap into. Some points, the private and public market, there's no arbitration between the two. Last couple of years, you saw the private market advantaged. The goal here from our perspective, give the client as much choice as possible. Again, what does it mean? I come back to America as a proud immigrant. What you see here is the depth and breadth of capital market. We have 50% of the world's capital market. We keep innovating. The scale and specialization it affords is really tremendous. You just don't see that as much in the rest of the world. And that, I think it means, why does the US keep being the winner in the global financial and capital markets? It is because it deserves to be.
At that end, too, what is the biggest risk to the industry over the next 5 years? Where do you have to look around the corner the most?
The piece that keeps me up at night is always cyber risk. And I think when we think about fraud, AI, and cyber, and the sort of convergence of those capabilities, and the speed with which activity can be done now, and that compute is going, that definitely continues to keep me awake at night the most. So I think that is the larger threat. At the end of the day, this industry is about trust. And so I think all of the larger institutions are putting a lot of resources to make sure that we can protect our institutions and our clients.
Jane, where do you see Citigroup in 5 years? You have embarked on this massive transformation. What is your greatest ambition?
Oh, well, my ambition is to be a high-returning, high-quality earnings, modern, simpler institution that continues to play a shaping role in the global financial system. We're truly privileged to be in as many locations as we are, with a talent base with such a global mindset and an ambition about it. So I think about, we've got the right strategy and vision, we're executing with the right organization, and that we're a simpler, well-controlled, modern organization. We'll have got the job done.
Well, yeah, we're looking to the American.
Definitely, I'm sure. Still ahead from the Bloomberg Women, Money and Power event in London.
We had nothing when I bought the team, and it was just a case where I had to be patient. And as I've watched the WNBA grow, and there were steps and missteps in hiring coaches, basketball operations people, this is a very, very hard business.
Women's sports has opened the door for the other half of the world, becoming not only a really good investment opportunity, but also representing a gender equality movement that is probably going to be the most powerful one that we experience in our lifetime.
Welcome back, I'm Anna Edwards. The rising popularity of women's sports has rippled across the globe. Projected to surpass the $1 billion mark in revenue for the first time ever in 2024. In the United States, the excitement around basketball star Caitlin Clark is setting new records for viewership of the women's game. Yet the global picture remains patchy, with teams and leagues only sporadically being backed by media rights and institutional investment. While investment in women's sports is still a fraction of the more than $11 billion of revenue generated by men's sport, more women are watching and more are investing.
This is a case where it was an opportunity that was brought to me, and people kept saying to me, do not do this, do not do it. And I said, look, the WNBA is now the longest running women's professional sports team. And I could see where was passion with so many people coming in to watch the Mystics and the WNBA as a whole. We had a really solid fan base from the very beginning. And I decided that I was going to take this leap of faith and decide to do it. And at the time, I was the only woman that had invested in a professional sports team. Now, when the opportunity was brought to me and I looked at the financials, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to be writing a lot of checks over the years. But I came up with another idea. Abe Pollin, who owned the Washington Capitals, had sold it to Ted Leonsis. Ted then had first right of refusal once Abe passed away to buy the Washington Wizards. So I called Ted at the time that Abe came to me and wanted to know if he wanted to buy the WNBA team. And I said, I'm going to give you an offer you can't refuse. And I said, you can get a woman and an African American. And I want to buy into all three teams. And the reason why I did it, because financially, that gave me the foundation to keep that women's team going. So any losses were going to be funneled through the Wizards and the Caps, who I knew were profitable. So by joining them and putting a lot more money into it, I again took a leap of faith. And what you have to understand, it was a passion project, still is. And from 2005 until this year, we've been losing money. And it was a case where, from the very beginning, I had to invest even more money to build locker rooms, to get office space. We had nothing when I bought the team. And it was just a case where I had to be patient. And as I've watched the WNBA grow, and there were steps and missteps in hiring coaches, basketball operations people, this is a very, very hard business. I want you all to know this. You can call it a vanity play, you can call it whatever you want, but it is a business. It was trying to make the numbers work. And back to your question, the reason why the WNBA is now working, we are now, and I'm going to list all the networks we're on, ABC, CBS, ESPN, ESPN2, ION, NBA TV. That media play has now catapulted us from 0 to over 200 million. So now, for the first time, the W is going to start getting a payback. We now have charter flights for the girls. I mean, we're really doing well. And that is important because we have been fighting for this for a long, long time. But look how old we are. We're 28 years old now. It takes that kind of time and patience and love and the passion to really invest in women, and especially in the sports industry.
That's a wrap from Bloomberg's Women, Money and Power event here in London. You can find more from top voices in finance at Bloomberg.com.